Hello, it's Andrew back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about bananas. Well, not actually bananas, but Velvet Underground's debut album known as The Velvet Underground and Nico, also known as the Banana Album. Right, can I say something about this album that nobody else ever said before? For those of you who don't know, basically, The Velvet Underground and in the late 1960s, didn't really sell very many records at the time, but went on to influence a whole load of other groups, sort of everything from sort of punk to heavy metal, experimental rock, art rock, all various different genres you can read about on Wikipedia. So, album, now it's quite interesting actually, because when it first came out, the only words on the front were Andy Warhol, because he designed the banana print on the front. It was only about 1986, I think, when the album came out on CD, that they started to, you can imagine it there, the words The Velvet Underground and Nico were added to the cover. On the back, I'm looking at this back to front, members of the group. Right, there's Nico, who was just guest vocalist with them for this album. Maureen Tucker, John Cale, I think it's back to front. Lou Reed, Sterling Morrison. Oh, if you can hear a noise in the background, it's a Scrabble. My darling wife, Debbie. Hello, Debbie. Oh, she doesn't want to. She's throwing raspberries at me now and talking to the cats. Right, where was I? Yes. So now, take out the inner sleeve. This is not exactly very exciting inner sleeve, but back in the 1980s, definitely. I don't know whether it went on before or after then. I used to put a little date on a lot of British pressings. It says, you can't probably see it, but it says 1/87. So I suspect it actually means that that's when the inner sleeve was printed rather than the record was printed. So this circa 1987 pressing of the album. If I take the vinyl out, it's a really familiar label at the time, a red Polydor label. The other side, basically the same label. Now, as I say, didn't sell very many copies at the time, reached the grand heights of number 171 in the US charts, but went on to be acclaimed as one of the greatest rock albums ever, and influenced a lot of artists. Now, some great songs on there: Heroin, I'm Waiting for the Man, Femme Fatale, I'll Be Your Mirror, Venus in Furs. It's strange. It was very much not within the mainstream pop and rock music of the time, because there's some pretty screeching, droning music. But then there's also, Lou Reed had a fondness for doo-wop, and there's some quite gentle, almost romantic moments. I'll Be Your Mirror, which is sung by Nico, which is apparently a song about by Lou, who was in love with Nico. Nico is, well, for those of you who know the story of Nico, she's a very mysterious, strange woman who seemed to have affairs with, who was it? Someone said she was the, I can't remember the exact quote. Someone, I think, someone attached to the band Jared Malanga, maybe. Someone said she was the most beautiful creature who ever lived, or something like that. I'll have to check the quote later. Anyway, she had affairs with John Cale, Lou Reed, and numerous other people. Apparently, she was just totally irresistible. Anyway, lovely song. I'll Be Your Mirror. It's only a couple of minutes long. Very lovely romantic ballad. She also does. Mental blank now. Femme Fatale, which is a song about a femme fatale. She also sings All Tomorrow's Parties, which is a long, sort of repetitive song that goes on for 6 minutes, which I always thought had, it might sound a bit strange, but I always thought it had a echoes of the Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Loving Feeling, and having listened to a little bit of each song tonight, I'm not quite sure what I think that, so perhaps I need to listen to all of them. I always had it in my head that the intro were the same, but I'm not sure. I digress. I'll tell you one thing though. Now, when I say this album influenced a lot of people, now I think I spotted something that I don't think many or other people have spotted. So I can say something different about this album. Here we go. Exhibit A of Underground album 1967. Exhibit B, Beatles album 1968. Now, yes, so basically they've stolen the cover, but they've taken the banana and Andy Warhol's name. You may guess that I'm not being serious about this too much, but there is actually, I reckon, some way in which the Beatles were influenced by the Velvet Underground put together. And what happened here is Brian Epstein, manager of the Beatles, was in New York around the time that the Velvet Underground album came out in 1967, which was only a few months before he sadly died. And apparently he was actually thinking about signing them up and getting them to tour Britain, and nothing came of it. He did bring back a copy of their album, and apparently I read somewhere that he played it to the Beatles. Now, I think, and reaching into my lyric sheet from the Beatles' White Album, the Velvet Underground song Run, Run, Run mentions hobnail boots. Now, looking at the lyric of Happiness is a Warm Gun, written by John Lennon, we find that the lines include she's well acquainted with the touch of the velvet hand, Velvet Underground, and even more tellingly, a couple of lines later, 3 lines later even, mentions someone with hobnail boots. I reckon it may be subconscious, it may be direct, but I reckon Happiness is a Warm Gun by the Beatles was actually influenced by the Velvet Underground. So I have said something different, new. Anyway, I'm sure, presumably most people watching this video are attracted to watch it because they know something about this album. It really is an amazing album, well worth checking out. It's quite long actually for its time, about 49 minutes long. It includes the last song, European Sun, it's like an 8-minute screeching thrash. There are obviously the other songs that I've mentioned, Heroin. There's another long song, which is probably one of their most famous songs. Check out, actually, I reckon there's actually a better version of Heroin on the 1969 live double album, which they did. But there is some really great stuff on here, and one of my favourite albums for many a long year. So that's where I shall leave it for tonight. Thank you for watching, and no doubt I'll be back with another video soon. Good night. Thank you.